Rocketing gas prices taking center stage for Governor Newsom as he delivers his state of the state. That was tonight. Fox 40 Capitol reporter Ashley Zavala joining us live from downtown Sacramento to explain a new push that the governor announced tonight. Ashley.
Eric, instead of giving the speech from the usual venue, the state capitol, Governor Gavin Newsom delivered the State of the State address from here, the California Natural Resources Agency. This venue is fitting because two of the topics the governor covered tonight, the rising cost of gas and the need to transition into clean energy.
Now it's clear we have to go farther. And that's why, working with legislative leadership, I'll be submitting a proposal to put money back in the pockets of Californians to address rising gas prices.
In his fourth State of the State address as governor of California, Governor Gavin Newsom announced he's proposing a tax rebate in response to the skyrocketing prices of oil and gas. Administration officials said they're still working on the details, but said eligibility would begin with California residents who own a car, including undocumented immigrants. The governor will try to get this passed through state budget negotiations, which are usually finalized at the end of June. His office says it's pushing to make this a reality sooner.
Help is coming. Help is on the way. And again, we want to make sure that that money gets into the hands and the pockets of people of California who are paying these gas prices and not into the hands of companies who might take advantage of a moment to increase profit.
Republican legislative leaders say they're waiting to hear more.
I do think we should be giving the taxpayers back some of their money. If we have nearly a $60 billion surplus in the state, it means that people are overtaxed.
Meanwhile, as conflict continues involving one of the world's largest oil producers, Russia, Governor Newsom signaled his administration will not ramp up oil production here in California.
But I want to make this clear. At a time when we've been heating and burning up, one thing we cannot do is repeat the mistakes of the past by embracing polluters, drilling even more oil, which only leads to even more extreme weather, more extreme drought, and more wildfire.
But Republicans say they're pushing the governor to approve pending permits for more oil and gas production in state to relieve pressure at the pump.
Why not increase our domestic oil and gas production, which would help with obviously our gas problem and the high costs of fuel, but also would stop our dependence on foreign oil, right? And people who are not following any environmental laws, who are not following any of the clean energy practices that we practice here in California.
Other topics the governor covered in his speech include homelessness and care court, which is the governor's proposal to get the severely mentally ill off the streets and into treatment. He also talked about the need for new strategies to address crime. And when it comes to COVID-19, he says California can't let its guard down. Reporting live in Sacramento, Ashley Zavala, Fox 40 News.